was definitely
and
a success.
I mean, his Alistair is still amazing.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Like it's.
Oh, Chovy's doing it!
Woo!
All right, I actually was
Okay.
wondering. I was going through his solo queue just recently, and his Everfrost LeBlanc has certainly been taking some names, but not actually all that recently, to be perfectly honest. This is
Ezreal,
interesting.
yes, please.
I mean, Ezreal is about all you can pick at this point in time. Like, Tristana could have been a potential option there as well, because Rocket Jump can get you theoretically out of the way of a Hecarim, but maybe not, actually. As Ezreal at least can Arcane Shift relatively often. But this is exciting. All right, we've got Chovy's LeBlanc. It's been a while since we've seen this. And once again, you've got Morgan just chilling there on the top side of the map as the Scion. And I feel like all of the things that we were talking about that made Hanwha Life Esports good in Game 1 can be good for exactly the same reasons here in Game 2.
I think the one change is that Chovy is going to be his how do you say this? His impact is not as expected and like guaranteed as it was with the Azir, right? Like LeBlanc, there is a lot more pressure on you to actually proactively do stuff,
especially in the mid game.
Yeah. So I think traditionally, like historically, LeBlanc, because this is a pick we've not seen in a while, right? Like historically, LeBlanc was one of those picks where you basically you're like this scary assassin, you snowball in the early game and then you pop off for the rest of the game. It's kind of shifted away from that, where it's more you become a poke mage of sorts, which sounds weird, but it's basically you get your items and then you jump in, do your combo, and like get someone to like 30%, or you blow them up if you've been fed.
Yeah.
And then you pop back out, right? And honestly, just because it's Chovy, I love it. I also think it's one of those picks that you want as the only AP source in a composition. You don't want to combine this with like a Nidalee, right, or Lilia, something of the sorts.
Definitely not.
So you have a lot of AD damage. LeBlanc is the sole AP source, so she can actually assassinate targets. On the side of Liiv Sandbox, there's plenty of squishies, right? Like Camille won't really be beefy. She'll have some health, but that's about it. Fade is self-explanatory. Prince is self-explanatory. So I think we might see some fireworks here, Atlas.
And it's also always been a historically extremely interesting matchup into Azir. We've been seeing this forever. You know, you've got like Kuro sitting on the desk back there and he's like, I remember playing Faker in this matchup for like 3 years. You know, like this is something that we're going to have to dig out of the history books to really cover, because of course Distortion, so good against the Shurima Shuffle, right? You dive on forward, he tries to displace you and you say, haha, no. And then you hop back. It's like Zoe, but with more agency.
I don't feel LeBlanc is necessarily in the best of places. So I'm really, that's why I like to see it, right? Like I think that a champion where the general consensus is that she's not a Vista. You were spot up, my man. That is
okay. Yeah, well, Vista is just going to have to flash this wall. Does so. Deft might be able to grab this ward, so at least they get a consolation prize. As fine. Yep, over they go. And so Vista now doesn't have flash to start off this game. Wants to be able to Hex Flash out of the brush more easily, I guess.
It's one of those situations where it's very awkward, but at least you have Hex Flash, right? Like it's something. The bigger problem is that happened very close to the start of the game, and now Deft is going to get zoned from this wave. So you're actually losing a ton of early control of your wave here, meaning that Ezreal and Leona are going to be able to take complete control of this early game, and that's not a good place to be in. Maybe Croco can be looking towards getting a double scuttle with Prince and Effort, at least till the third back comes in. Should have just complete control of this lane. You see Deft, he's just trying to get into XP range.
Yeah.
All you can really do. I think he generally is picked up 2 out of the 3 minions. Not sure if he got the third one there.
Yeah, he's managed to get experience thus far, but I mean, that's not what the conversation wants to be, right?
No.
As Vista gets back down here, and we'll see whether they can salvage.
Yeah, so you're going to be in an awkward position where Deft is level 2 and Vista is still level 1, and you just kind of, it feels bad. And Effort and Prince, I think there's a mismatch. I think that Deft and Vista are the stronger 2v2 lane, but if you get a lead like this early, that is rough to play out, right? You need to like find a way to retake control. And Yohan, he's gone for a top side to bot side clear, so he can actually impact his lane early on, but I also expect Prince and Effort to play according to that.
And as you can see, yeah, it's a pretty even matchup and also been played quite a few times. Chovy almost has a 10 KDA on LeBlanc. He's only died 12 times in his career. That's pretty nutty. 8 to 4.
Yeah, that's... those are the kind of stats you don't want to see as Morgan.
This is the kind of engage you don't want to see as well, as Morgan's going to have to flash, gets the follow. So at least they trade 1 for 1 as Morgan's going to go back home. Could have been worse I guess, but still not exactly the greatest of moments, as someone's going to go home as well and trying to keep this advantage.
Summon. So good. I get why if you get stuff like this done, I get why you blind pick the Camille. Like that makes complete sense to me. As yeah, Johan is on the ward. This is what I said earlier, right? Like as long as Effort and Prince respect this, they should be fine. Croc are going to be found. I don't think Johan wins this.
No, exactly not. As the crashdown does come through, Attract Repel. Only going to get the stun onto Prince. As there's the flash forward. Johan gonna have to try and get out of here, but he can't. Only has the Ghost, of course, as Deft trying to get some follow damage back in. But once again, another beautiful early game from Liiv Sandbox. Is already 2 kills. And assist and a kill going over to Ezreal early in this lane. Just beautiful stuff to start this one off.
You don't have Prio. Hecarim is not stronger than Udyr in the early game. Hecarim is an insanely strong pick at the moment in the meta, but it's because of his scaling potential and how well he snowballs if he gets some farm. Udyr is nuts early game. Like you're not going to win against him. He's basically indulable. And if Johan just backs off there, says, peace out, Chovy, you probably have mid lane Prio, I can just like roam to top, get that scuttle, is completely fine. Instead, you've accelerated Prince in a lane where Hanwha was already at a deficit because of that early game. That's now going to get further exacerbated. And again, like Hanwha, you still have a really good teamfight comp. Like it's not insurmountable, but being this far behind this early against a team like Gen G, that's gonna cost you, and it did cost them.
Yeah. The thing that's really interesting about this is that we have to look at the compositions again, right? Because Liiv Sandbox have a much more comfortable front-to-back later game than they did in Game 1. Game 1 was all about them trying to, make things happen in early and mid in order to get over that hump that was going to be late-game teamfighting. This is a very different story, as Fate's going to get chained. Effort is just standing here, but Chovy not going to get locked down, of course, with Distortion available. Snapback's all too easy, as Vista's in the area as well.
Hello. Just both walk off.
All right, let's have a look at this one more time. It was definitely a kerfuffle on the bottom.
It was not a good kerfuffle. I'm not a fan. Like they don't really have Prio. Like they're basically walking up both at the same time. So Johan and Croco is never going to work out well, right? And because of
Effort's reaction here was just perfect as well to make sure that they got the kill.
And yeah, I don't think you ever win that early game unless you're the one like 100-0ing someone with Hecarim immediately charging in. But that's not what happened. Hecarim was already half health at the start of that fight. You have an Udyr who is in these extended fights early on so incredibly strong because of like the skill spamming he can do and the stance dancing. And now Prince is accelerated, Death is 10 CS behind, and as a whole, like this might lead to a Drake coming out here from Liiv Sandbox. That was kind of the downside of what we saw earlier. No way that Vista and Devs can respond here. They're being pushed underneath the turret, and the early game, yet again, Liiv Sandbox playing it very well. Summit though.
Yeah, you can see going down to just check to see whether there's a horse, and he's still lying in wait. Over he goes. But not going to be able to go for too much here as that ward is now going to time out. Summit going to be denied some honey fruit, but that is about the end of the good news. There's Chovy here in the mid lane, currently behind by a little bit of CS. And Fate actually been pretty comfortable here with his Hail of Blades Azir.
Yeah, I think that early on this is a matchup where as Fate you're super comfortable. It's not until the LeBlanc, like I said. LeBlanc is not a pick anymore where you need to get impact in the early game and then like snowball the game out of control, otherwise you don't do anything. You have a little bit more time, you have a little bit more leeway. And I think that, especially with a player like Chovy, give him time. See how well they can set up the flanks later on in the game. Because Hanwha vision control last game was good. Actually playing around it was a bit subpar at times. I think the teleport flank that we saw in the bot lane comes to mind, where they overextended into a really nice response from Liiv Sandbox. But as a whole, I think when it comes to picks like this, always give the player the benefit of the doubt, because if it does go well, like LeBlanc can feel very unfair. Right?
Oh yes.
Because she pops in, she blows you up, and then she has the safety of something like a Yone, where she's like, goodbye.
Also very safe in lane as well, so it's going to be difficult for Croco to get anything done alongside Fate. So he will largely be on his own, as I think that there will be a lot of topside focus, as Roar of the Slayer avoided there by Summit quite nicely. But Morgan is he's certainly doing okay here. 10 CS is just fine. As, it's sort of following on from what his performance was in Game 1. has his Bramble Vest now completed as Chovy misses some chains on some stationary minions.
Observer, come on.
Yeah, Jonas Strong is a bit of a troll. I think I actually feel sometimes that Jonas Strong cares more about how well someone farms than how well they, play out skirmishes.
Yeah, listen, honestly, Chovy is like on a crusade against minions, right? So then when the minions finally get a small win, I get that you pointed out. It doesn't happen often. Generally, Chovy wins that one.
Well, Deft is going to stop her back here as Croco has started off this Rift Herald. It is going down relatively quickly, and Liiv Sandbox do get the rotation over. They should be able to lock that one down. So, Croco continuing his onslaught of the jungle. In fact, both of the neutral objectives available so far have been his, as there's a Zenith Blade forward. Solar Flare is going to connect as well, as there's the Magnet Storm and the Crash down Chovy. Not a lot of cooldowns right now, but there is the Onslaught of Shadows as Fate finds the Emperor's Divide. Johan just gets slammed into. Decent knock up there onto Summit as Chovy still alive, connects the chains there onto Summit, dives on forward, picks up his first kill of the fight. Vista gets out safely as Chovy continuing to try and contend with this one, and now Morgan maybe going a little bit too far forward. Fate at full health is still scary, as Chovy, with his passive, will send that clone towards the top side of the map. And the Rift Herald was taken, is now immediately being shoved down in this mid lane, and Liiv Sandbox will be able to get a good tempo advantage.
And Liiv Sandbox, they're playing to their tempo, as you so secondly pointed out. We immediately see rotation towards the Scuttler. They want to keep it going. They want to try and keep Hanwha alive on the back foot, because that's how you win this game. Even though I think their front to back in terms of like straight up power of the picks is really good, I think that just again, like Sign, Hecarim, and Rel in late game team fights is just so much easier, right? Like the power of those picks, those ultimates is just so incredibly overpowering. As
okay,
I think if Fate doesn't get the 4-man scoop there, that fight, like Chovy gets a double or a triple and the game is over. So that was. I like that Liiv Sandbox go for aggressive early game plays, but that was on a knife's edge. That could have backfired in a big way, and they're really. It's thanks to Fate that it didn't.
Well, Chovy going to be splitting up here, as the real one is going to get out far more unscathed than his deceived version. Going to feign it back here, but of course he's going to be picking up that minion wave. And Prince actually fell behind Deft, unfortunately, in the 1v1 on the bottom side when both of our supports are running around trying to secure Rift Heralds and things like that. So Deft sort of trying to save what has been a quite difficult and perilous early stage, and has done so with some finesse as well. As we have a look at this one more time.
And this feels initially like the call is a little bit split. Fate is in a position, he is doing damage, but he's not going all in early on. He waits for this moment for the scoop, right? And I think if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't create a or distance between Croco and Chovy, like Chovy goes in, pops Croco, he pops Summit here as well. There's no Croco this time to zone, right? And then all of a sudden you can move in there and you can look for more kills. So that was a super pivotal ultimate hit there by Fate. And it's one of the reasons why, even though Azir is a late game character, in these like choke pointy skirmishes, he still has a lot of value. Summit.
Yeah, could be in trouble here, as he does have the Hextech ultimatum, gets boot back, Croco dives on in, as there it is. Ultimatum coming down, Morgan just having to watch as Fate flips another one. And Morgan's going to go down as well. No way that this Scion can 1 versus 3, and it's a double kill for the Azir. It's the day of the pigeons today, as both of them have been able to carry, this time far earlier on for Fate's Azir.
And Fate has been a stable player, but if Liiv Sandbox keeps us this tempo, I know who my pork vote's going to, because impacting the early game this much on an Azir is really impressive. And this goes into the trend of Liiv Sandbox playing around with their teleports really, really well, right? Like, I think it's been a trend of today where every time a teleport play is executed or set up by Liiv Sandbox, like they walk away with 1, 2, 3 kills. There was the bot lane teleport in the previous game. There's this one in this game thus far, and now the goal lead. This is much bigger than the lead we saw last time, right? And it's not a position that Hanwha Live are going to be able to freely get out of. Now, last time there was really good execution around mid-game skirmishes. They also picked up a couple more Drakes. So if Liiv Sandbox this time can stack the Drakes early, which currently it looks like they're doing, they can keep Chovy down and stop him from getting more fed. Johan's Hecarim he's been playing it like it's an Olaf. You cannot do that on the Hecarim. It just doesn't work. Look here as well, like he is they don't know where Croco is. Even in a 2v2, I think this backfires. I don't think you win this.
Oh no, and Morgan. Yeah. He's not aiming the train very well. Normally that's quite easy because they're on tracks, but this train not so much.
It's a crazy train, one might say, as we do see that. Yeah, with a teleport, like I said, I think without a teleport, the play might go wrong. With teleport, play definitely goes Croco.
This might be going wrong, but no. Fate, Prince, Effort, all of them here just to protect their Olaf as the chain is going to connect. It only finds Effort though as Croco. Tank goes off, and yeah, he's going to be able to get out, of course. Gets snared up. True Shot Barrage will miss Chovy because he does have his distortion. And Summit just being a bully up here on the top side, as he usually does now with his Divine Sundera in position. And Hanwha Liiv Esports, speaking of position, will be able to grab this second Drake of the game. And that is certainly good news for them after, I guess, theoretically winning the turf war on the bottom side of the map. Yeah,
I mean, I think that like the power of death just shines through as well. Like in a situation like that, I think in a 1v1, Kaiser always has an edge against Ezreal, but if there was a Teddy Ezreal, right, and he gets in the lead early like that laning phase might look completely different, but we can't really fault Prince for that. I think that he's overperforming in general here today. Considered who he's up against, right? Like, this is game number 501 for Mr. Deft, and he's been here for a while, and he's been really good for a while, and I feel like the recent trend of Deft is very steeply upwards yet again. So I think Liiv Sandbox, what they're doing well consistently, and that is a problem that they had in the beginning of the split, where they had these moments, and then it was immediately followed by like just straight up running it down the lane, or like someone getting caught in the side lane, or like just generally bad things happening to them. And what we see here is a team, like, again, regardless of the outcome here, I think Liiv Sandbox have really impressed me today with just how clean and decisive their early game play has been. And, like, they might still lose, right? It's Chovy and Deft. Morgan is playing super well. Vista's engages have been impeccable. And this is yet again a game where, yes, it's a 3.5k gold lead, but it's a Cloud Soul because Atlas is sitting right next to me.
Yes.
And it's still a front-to-back teamfight composition that provides Chovy and Deft with some freedom.
Speaking of Chovy though, he's now locked down Fate. Croco's after him as Empress Divide only lands onto Vista. Fate is just going down so quickly, but the CC's there and Johan gets baited in. God, Effort has been so good today. As Chovy gets back to the safety of his turret, and Fate is going to survive as well. This horse not having a great time.
And the stability of Fate augmented by the form of Effort here today, Atlas, because I thought he was gone. I was like, that is definitely one dead pigeon. Instead, Effort with the clutch exhaust, keeping him alive till the very last second. And that's again a kill on Johan here. And yes, the Hecarim is really, really strong, but if you're a fed Hecarim, you can do this and get away with it, right? Like, his Hecarim syndrome is the same as Lee Sin. You want to go in, you're a big scary pony, and you want to get your group of chargy spectral spirits and like charge down the mid lane and get that kill on the Zir, even though you probably would still die in that scenario. But from this position on, you just can't really afford to. And this is a play that's, I think, being set up by Chovy.
Missing the Alpha Frost as well, which is a bit unfortunate.
And then it's still fine here, right? Like, but the fact that Fate immediately flashes back, Effort flashes in exhaust, and then Fate can get on a couple of autos as well. Vista and Chovy are stuck behind the wall.
He would have been like a split second away from landing a Q there as Croco over the wall does have the Rift Herald in hand. It's going to make things even more difficult for Morgan up here. As we have a look at the gold, and it's a huge lead for Croco right now.
And something that's really interesting that we haven't talked about as much is Croco, besides that one play on top, has actually been pushing everything towards Fate. This is the second Herald that's going down on mid lane. All the attention has been going to this player that we called out as he's stable, right? But is he really impressive? And what I'm seeing thus far this series from Fate, like, I'm genuinely, this is not the player we saw at the beginning of the split. And I think it's amazing to see this kind of development through like just the entire top half of Liiv Sandbox and Effort, who's back to what seems like you talked about earlier is 2019 form, which that's scary. That's a spooky prospect, Atlas.
And this is the Liiv Sandbox that we wanted to see, right? When I saw that Croco was heading over to this team, I was like, damn, this is cool. And then they were 10th place for a really long time. No longer, of course, Afrika are beneath them in the standings right now, but they're a little bit late to the party when it comes to the resurgence. There is still a possibility that they make it to the playoffs, but this match could be very, very important when it comes to that journey. So if they can take a win here in game number 2, bring us to that match point, things could be very, very important, as now Prince might be caught out of position, gets knocked back. Decent solar flare, but it's not going to be enough as Johan gets delivered a little bit more much-needed money. But still, there's a huge amount of pressure there developing towards the top side. Deft, though, he's going to take down an outer turret on the bottom side of the map, and we are in relative touching distance, I guess, when it comes to the gold.
Real problem is that Prince will not be alive for the Drake, and if Hanwha Live set up really nicely, are able to get that they get that prio in all lanes going, which Deft just got on bot side. I don't think you can go for the Cloud Drake here. Yes, it's Cloud Drake, but it's still a soul.
Yeah.
And Hanwha Live, everything you do to postpone this game is going to be in your favor. Not necessarily 100% because of team comms, but mainly because of like the inherent powers that your players have on this roster, and it's something that, like, do you have faith for Chovy to like find the key assassination in the late game? 100%, right? Like, do you have faith in Deft to go in for the big killer instinct when he needs to? 100%, because that's the kind of the reputation that these players have built for themselves. And
have you noticed something? Have you noticed that Hanwha Live Esports have one of the best Cloud Soul team compositions that you could possibly get?
Yeah.
Like, that's nutty, actually.
Yeah. I hadn't actually, it had not occurred to me, but I agree.
Like, movement speed with Magnet Storm is way extra value because you get to close the distance on someone. And
Hecarim,
like,
self-explanatory.
Hecarim, obviously self-explanatory. The train always wants to be going fast. Deft gets to ult in and then move more quickly, things like that. But also, getting Chovy's ultimate over and over again is really important, as Johan looking to get down here. And yep, that is a very dead summit, as Chovy, if he gets this LeBlanc going, then this mid-game gets far scarier for Liiv Sandbox, and that's 2-0-1 now.
I think he's going for Cosmic Drive here. I'm not entirely certain.
Ooh,
that remains to be
cool.
seen. Yeah,
That'd be a lot of movement speed, like a lot.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. You're Ezreal. That's not really supposed to happen. You have Flash available as well. It hurts the Flash, but you have Arcane Shift, right? So I think you should just go for it. This is the first time that Summit has been punished this hard for going in as aggressively, right? He's like, I'm gonna get this one trade, and then there's all of a sudden the teleport and the pony.
Yep.
And it hurts, but I kind of get it. I feel like Liiv Sandbox, like, we know that there's still a sizable gold lead for them, right? But being in game, I imagine this feels like game number 1, where you're like, we have an early game lead, and now we can slowly feel it starting to slip away from us. And one of these kills on Prince in isolation is just, it's bad, but it can happen. And then another kill on Summit, right? And that's the problem that Liiv Sandbox had at the start of the split, where they had a lead and then people just got caught. And again, and again, and again, the tempo swings, the momentum swings, and all of a sudden Hanwha Live is the ones making the plays, is the ones engaging on you and blowing you up repeatedly, picking up the objectives and winning the game from there. So this is a make or break moment here for Liiv Sandbox. Like, this is where they show, have we actually progressed enough? And if not, then maybe we can do it against worse teams, but Hanwha Live still just a little bit too strong, too consistent for us.
Yeah, and talking about Hanwha Live is consistent is actually just a weird feeling in my mind, as Everfrost is going to be able to grab the stun. The chains come through as well. And I like this. The Everfrost LeBlanc actually just, it feels cool, right? You can set up your chains, and it's on such a low cooldown. Like, it's silly how many times you can use the ability.
It's Everfrost and Strybreaker on that 11.5 are a little bit broken. Yeah, just a little bit. Just a tad.
Little nutty. As Liiv Sandbox making a very small ARAM here in the mid lane. Being opted out of from Hanwha Live for the moment, as the 4-0-0 Azir making a rotation there towards the bottom side of the map. Efforts found Vista as Prince over to the side as well. In goes the Magnet Storm, out they go as well. But in goes Chovy, finds the distortion into the back line as the exhaust immediately used onto Johan. He's just locked down for so long. The train finds one, but Summit heroically stands in the way. Denies all that CC, and it's just a quick pick onto Johan and Vista. Both of the horses taken out of commission, and Liiv Sandbox looking towards a Baron right now. 22.5 minutes.
Fate's so good, man. He's able to stay alive there, able to do so much damage, and I think that as Hanwha Liiv, you think that you might be able to get the advantage there with a big flank from Johan into an ultimate, followed up by an okay engage from Vista. They don't want to give over this Baron though.
Yep, Morgan is going to grab a blue trinket, gets back into the pit as Chovy gets over the wall, back in again. Summit has locked down Deft as he cleanses, tries to get out, but he's not going to be able to. Now Morgan running for the hills as well. Chovy finds the chain onto Summit, but he's going to have to leave Morgan to die. As Croco just going to stand next to him, gets a bit of a boop there, as that looked a little bit dangerous. If we had a couple of extra zombie slaps, that would have been a dead bear man, but that's all right. No Baron is going to go down here, but Liiv Sandbox getting even more kills.
And here yet again, we see the value of a Shurima shuffle in a choke point, right? And Deft can't join this fight until Fade is already flashed out. The immediate exhaust yet again coming through from Effort. And here we see in a mini Cosmos, we see that front to back, right? Where like Croco and Effort are just standing in that choke point and they're just defending Prince and Fate, and that's all you need to do. They kite back, they're able to get all that damage out before the dive inevitably comes, and then this is just straight up re-engage. There's no counterplay for Hextech Ultimatum as Defter. Unfortunately, Summit goes in for Flash Precision Protocol. And yeah, Morgan, not a lot you can do here, unfortunately. And as a whole, Hanwha Liiv kind of opting into the one thing that Liiv Sandbox were looking for, which is an advantageous skirmish. I say
more chains connecting here onto Effort as he's going down low, but he's not actually going to die just yet. Morgan once again calls the train underneath the turret, but this time he's not quite as survivable. Now died 3 times. In fact, these are his first 3 deaths on the Scion so far this series. Not looking nearly as good as it was in game 1.
And this is the downfall of Hanwha Liiv. I just called them stable, but this is looking more like the bad stability that we saw earlier in the split, where the top side is having a really rough time keeping up with the rest of the team, right? Where, yes, we have this nice LeBlanc from Chovy. I don't think that has been a problem whatsoever, but Johan has been over-aggressive. Morgan, I think, still feels like he's playing in game number 1, where he actually could get away with all this. But in this scenario, there's not a Syndra, on the other hand. It's an Azir, and he has tank shredding items. He's building towards a Void Staff. He will get through you, right? Like last time, Summit on his own, he got close, but he never actually was able to get the kill. In this scenario, though, and I get it, it feels like you made a really nice pick onto Prince here, who's immediately forced to flash, but it's all an elaborate bait, and yeah, then this coming in. And I also want to give a shout out to Croco, because Croco is one of the players where I'm starting to feel okay when he locks in the Udyr, right? Like you mentioned at the beginning of the day, he gets it. He knows what he needs to do, because it feels like there's a very thin margin between Udyr where like he's actually just, you know, I run in, I stun, and my job is done and I do nothing. And actually having an impact. Pioshik, of course, the OG of having an impact on Udyr, but Croco, this time and last time, 100% kill participation. Every time he needs to be there to tank, to stun, to run in and draw attention, he's there.
And also manages to get the important CC as well in these fights, which is so important. As important things being important makes sense.
I'm really glad you kept that simple for me, Atlas.
Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes you just got to make sure that you are.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, we all have oopsies sometimes.
Well, 3.5 minutes as the Cloud Drake is coming up. This Baron still alive, remember. Wasn't actually taken down, as Johan does manage to at least get a smite on a big chicken. And Scion still building towards item number 2. We've got Ravenous Hydra as well as a cheeky Phage and a Divine Sundra here for Summit. This Camille is so much further ahead than his lane opponent. 5-0 and 3 though for the Azir now. Fate is just huge, and is it going to be a tale of 2 Azirs as we move into a potential game number 3, given the advantage the Liiv Sandbox have? It's the biggest one they've had so far this series, almost 7,000 gold. Chovy trying to get in here and deny vision where he can. Actually cancels that auto, unfortunately, but he has another distortion, so he'll be fine.
It's not over until the Nexus has fallen, Atlas, because we have seen some of the trademark Liiv Sandbox mistakes here, right? Like Prince getting caught once time kind of as a bait. Some side laning that's not really congruent with your overall game plan. They still need to play this out respectfully.
Speaking of respect, yeah, he has to get out of there. All 5 members now rotating back towards this Baron. Chovy is trying to keep his eye on what's going on here. Some extra vision given over. Johan knows that there's someone waiting in there, and the Zenith Blade comes out to confirm it. Immediately exploded is the horse. He's basically doing nothing this game. And Chovy gets his Everfrost denied 4 versus 5 now, no smite available. Hanwha Liiv Esports still go in for it. Decent Magnet Storm as Effort's going to get focused down. Another Zenith play. Def flashes the wall to get himself over the back. Does go golden to avoid the Emperor's Divide, but he's in amongst about 11 people and he will be taken down. Morgan gets a cool little knock up there as another Everfoss comes down, and that is going to be the lockdown onto the Camille, but the Rel's going to fall as well, and Chovy can't do it all. Has to get out of here as Morgan, the zombie version, will at least get himself a control ward.
Too many threats on the side of Liiv Sandbox. That is about as well as it could have possibly gone, right, for Hanwha Liiv. You make sure they don't get the Baron, and you find a couple of shutdowns. But the problem is that you don't deal with everyone, and I think at this scenario, especially in a 4v5, is not really allowed. Like, I don't know why Morgan is not the one face checking here. I think they felt the necessity to go in, right, because the Baron was already getting low, but Morgan should be the one that goes in there, because he can actually do that. Johan not nearly tanky enough, and now what you're doing here is just hit and run gameplay. Vista tries to drag people past the Baron, right, to make sure that the Baron is doing as much damage as possible. Def responds beautifully. This stopwatch from Def not only keeps him from getting scooped back, but also allows him to get that proc and absolutely demolish Fate. But then here, right, like, it's looking good, but Prince is still alive. Croco is a tanky beast. Baron is hitting Vista, and then there's not that much that remains here, and it goes into an issue that last time we had for Hanwha Liiv, there's too many threats on the side of Liiv Sandbox.
Yeah, well, we're doing this again. Morgan is booking it, trying to get in there. The Baron goes down, though, and unfortunately, the horse is just going to dive into his death. The Rel's going to follow. Both of these horses are way too excited, I think, as the Scion's going to set up a bit of a stun. Effort's going to get chunked, but he's a Leona. He doesn't care whether you throw damage into him, and it's a triple kill here for this Ezreal as the Zombie Scion once again sadly walks away. 18-6 now, the advantage for Liiv Sandbox. Close to a 10,000 gold lead. Baron now, and the base is in trouble. True Shot Barrage actually going to deny the back of Chovy as well, and that'll make it much easier for this inhibitor to be eliminated.
And Liiv Sandbox, they might have done it here, Atlas. We talked about the early and mid game, and this game, even more so than the last one, they're able to actually utilize it and keep it going throughout the mid game, right? Into the late game scenarios where we are right now. And I'm super impressed. I think at this point, like, again, Johan, you're 2 or 3 levels behind. You're never going to get that smite, 2 levels. And then this just feels disjointed with Vista also going in there, right? Like trying to maybe get a Hail Mary play, which if Deft and Morgan's there,
decimating
maybe.
smash was actually interrupted by a bear slap anyway. Oh, that's actually just really, really sad.
Imagine you're this behemoth, right? You're like made from insane army generals, and then like up walks a man in pajamas.
Yeah.
And he looks like he has a bear pajamas, and he slaps you. He tickles you, he gives you like a little slap in the face, and there goes your smash. It's not good.
No, it's very unfortunate. Speaking of unfortunate, you know, the 1-7 Hecarim really not getting very much done here this game. It's another one of those Johan games where you do start shaking your head in disbelief a little bit. Chovy also finding basically 0 value on the LeBlanc after those first couple of kills he was able to get. And it just feels like Liiv Sandbox snowballed so beautifully from their earlier advantages, largely coming from Summit having so much pressure and Croco just owning the jungle. That first little scuffle around the Rift Scuttler, just amazing stuff. As Prince is going to steal away a red buff, the map belongs to Liiv Sandbox. They'll grab themselves Soul Point. And these ultimates going to be flying out left, right, and center. 5-1 and 10 now for Fate. 9-1 and 5 for Prince, who is having one of his best games ever in the LCK so far for this split, is Johan. He tries to run away from the Man-Bear pick, but I don't know whether he actually can, as Chovy's now his new target, being very deceptive, actually saves the life of Johan.
He's getting out.
100%. Sometimes the LeBlancs are just a little bit too tricksy. That being said, I mean, we're celebrating Johan not dying there. It's when he's probably just going to die here, because now Liiv Sandbox are trying to take down the last remaining inhibitor.
Small victories, Atlas. There's not a lot to celebrate here. Oh, Hanwha Liiv, you got to take him.
Well, Chovy tries to put him on a leash as he distorts all the way around the Hextech ultimatum. Eventually he can flash out, but now the rest of the team is in trouble. Def, decent position right now as the Emperor's Divide tidies up the backline. Chovy, where is he? He's now backing, trying to get back and start this one up with a decent phalanx as Morgan getting taken down extraordinarily low as in goes Vista. We have the zombie Scion support as well as the killer instinct. Fate getting taken down low. Deft with a double kill so far as he goes down to his GA. Prince throws out the true shot barrage, and that's a little bit unfortunate as Summit over the wall gets himself the stun, and Deft is not going to... Oh, he flashes! No, not quite able to pick up the kill, but it looked so close to being amazing.
I thought he was going to do it. It wouldn't have mattered, probably not, but it would have been so cool for him to find the blow up. There comes the teleport. Summit, he wants to end this game, and Liiv Sandbox with a statement gamer in game number 2.
Well, here's Johan. Let's see whether he can make something happen. As Chobi, no stopwatch, no chance. And yeah, Prince is going to take a celebratory horse kill as the Nexus will be taken down, and Liiv Sandbox bring us to a game 3. I feel like we deserved it. Game 1 was so close, so back and forth.